Back in the summer of 2023, you might remember Lawrence and I meeting up here in Poole Harbour in Dorset.
And we joined a team of maritime archaeologists who were investigating a wreck site just a couple of miles from where we are.
But this was no ordinary shipwreck. If the divers are right, then this is one of the oldest wrecks in British waters.
And we had front row seats to the discovery of the incredible cargo that went down with this medieval ship 750 years ago.
We can now reveal that those incredible finds are stable enough to go on public display in a brand new maritime gallery here at Poole Museum.
And we've got an exclusive preview along with VIP tickets to the launch. Can't wait.
Let's go.
The wreck was originally discovered in 2019 when divers investigating an underwater anomaly stumbled upon an extraordinary collection of hand-carved marble mortars and grave slabs hidden by sand and seaweed.
We've just navigated our way through Poole Harbour and we've approached the wreck site here. So we're the other side of the harbour there with Old Harry Rocks, the other side of us. What do we know about this wreck, Derek, and what are we hoping to get from this excavation?
Well, it's an amazing wreck because it's one of the oldest English wrecks in the channel. What that means is it's a medieval wreck, and it's incredibly well preserved.
It's 13th century, but we've also got cargo on this one, haven't we? And that's kind of linked to the industry in the area and the natural resources that we found here. We've got Purbeck marble and other things, but they're processing the marbles and turning them into pretty fine objects. We're going to be lifting some of the artefacts that have been part of that wreck and been sitting there for hundreds of years. Exciting opportunity.
It's amazing to see those artefacts come up and put our eyes on them for the first time in 750 years. It's going to be incredible. Not least because we know they were quarried just over there around the coast, and yet they were distributed around the country and to the continent. So this is a huge global industry of Purbeck marble.
We don't know exactly where the ship was headed, but it could have been destined for ports around the coast of Britain, as transporting heavy goods by sea was much quicker than overland.
Purbeck marble was the must-have medieval monumental stone. Kings and bishops alike ordered intricate tombs and effigies to be carved from it. And this beautiful Jurassic limestone can also be found in the fabric of English cathedrals, from York to Westminster, Lincoln to Salisbury.
I popped into the helm to come and have a chat with our skipper for the day, Trevor. You've got a pretty close link to this site, haven't you?
I have. I found this site a number of years ago, and I've had quite a good working relationship with Bournemouth University, and I alerted them to this site and asked them to do an exploratory dive onto it. This is a site that I travel over probably 4 times a day.
Right. So you picked it up on the boat sonar. What was it that stood out to you?
With sites, fish life quickly inhabits it, and you see a disturbance in the surrounding seabed. And I definitely convinced myself there was some form of structure there.
Maritime archaeologist Tom Cousins gets suited up, ready to take us on an underwater tour of the site.
Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Can you talk us through what we're seeing here?
So what you're seeing here is the north end of the site, which we think is the bow end, and you can see all these mortars. So how well you can see, but like these were, when we first started the site in 2019, these were all over the seabed exposed. So this whole area here has about 20 or 30 mortars in it. But we also have these grave slabs. So this is a small half a grave slab. The base of the cross, which is broken, so you'd assume the other half is here unless it was salvaged at the time. But we also have this cross you can see with the 3 trefoil ends on the cross and the circle there and 4. And this one isn't in the great. This has lost its cavalry. But then our best one we have here is this little
Wow.
Purbeck marble.
That one's staggering, Tom. How come it's so well preserved?
I think with this, because it's been straight to the seabed, big heavy stone sink. And the sand, where it is between the large mound of stones and this timber, is covered up quite well. So I think it's survived the mechanical protection of the sands blowing across it. And so this one is 12 early, so I think it's about 1240s. So we're closer to the 1240, 1250 date rather than the 1260 date.
Nice and coming off slowly.
We've just been given the heads up that there's a mortar that's coming up in this. So these are the big, long. Imagine the sort of thing you have in your kitchen, sort of pestle and mortar type thing, and it's a heavy, heavy object. So they're preparing to bring it up now.
Oh, look at that. Oh my God, it's huge.
My word.
That's a big one. I can't believe that's been on the seabed for hundreds of years. Look at it. It's amazing.
Tom, welcome back to the surface. You gave Derek that fantastic tour of the site beneath us right here, and you've brought up this beautiful mortar. What's next for this site?
Well, all depends on funding, but in the short term, we're going to have to sandbag all the timbers down. We'll do a photogrammic model of what we've got so far, just so we can keep it monitored and we can work out the extent of what the ship is underneath the cairn. But in going into the future, we could do a full-scale excavation, remove the stones to actually expose the wreck, record it in situ, then we can bring it up, preserve it, and maybe reconstruct the ship on the surface. But that's the long-term goal.
During the dive, hundreds of photographs are taken, which are stitched together to give us a photogrammetric model of the entire site. We can use this model to compare and monitor the state of the wreck over time. Here we can see scattered mortars, several grave slabs and modern sandbags laid to protect the wreck from erosion. The rocks piled over the wreck may have been the ship's ballast.
The team also took the opportunity to take core samples from the ship's timbers to establish its age through dendrochronology dating, or tree ring analysis. Results show that the trees were felled sometime between 1242 and 1265 during the reign of Henry III. And this ties in nicely with the grave slab carvings, which the team have stylistically dated to this period. What's more, the dendroanalysis tells us about the environment in which these trees grew, and this is the really amazing bit. The timbers have been traced to the same Irish oak forest that supplied the rafters to Salisbury Cathedral in 1222.
Tom's latest thinking, based on the post-excavation analysis, is that the ship is likely to be much larger than the team suspected. Probably 24 metres long with a 6-metre beam, and it may have even housed a castle at the stern.
Overall, it could have supported a crew of 20 seamen alongside its impressive cargo. This model of a 13th century nef gives the impression of what our ship may have looked like.
So why did the ship sink? Not enough is known about the wreck to say with certainty. Perhaps it was caught in a storm. It's also possible that the heavy cargo played some role in its demise.
We do know that this coastline has been littered with wrecks across the ages. In time, the team hopes to recover more clues about the fateful day that the ship went down.
It looks like it shouldn't float.
Yeah.
In the summer of 2024, the team returned to the wreck site, this time with a crane pontoon to lift the heavy grave slabs off the seabed.
We've reached the wreck site, and this is the first time we've been here in a year now. But the team themselves have been out over the last week or so preparing the site, getting the slabs ready, and all in preparation for today's big lifting. It's very exciting.
We're going to put Mr. Cousins in the water.
Yeah.
He's going to go and sit out where we need to put the. He's going to find the site, sit out hopefully where we need to put that lifting frame. Then we're going to put the lifting frame down adjacent to him. And then I think we'll leave it and pick the slab off the seabed with the crane, put it on the frame, and then lift the frame.
Amazing. So is he going down with the umbilical setup?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Will he be on his own down there, or is there a few of them going down?
No, there'll be just him, and we'll have others up here as a standby.
Tom uses inflatable bags to lift the marble tombstone off of the seabed. Once manoeuvred onto steel stretchers for support, they are then raised by the pontoon's crane.
After around 800 years on the seabed, the medieval grave slabs are lifted clear of the water. They're placed on specially constructed crates to protect them on their journey to dry land.
With the grave slabs safely stowed, the team head back to the quayside. As the barge docks, there's no stopping us jumping on board to get our first close look at the tombstones.
You'll always be my captain, Dave.
Are we able to have a sneak peek? Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness.
It's like it was made yesterday, Tom.
Yeah, when we first found them, this was almost luminous blue because there's iron inside the clay.
Yeah.
You can start seeing all the iron rust stains coming through, which is always a problem with marine archaeology. As soon as you find things look nice, and then they just rot if you don't do it quickly.
Speed is now of the essence, as the team has to get the slabs back underwater before they dry out and crack.
What an opportunity to see these most beautiful items and artefacts, to have been part of the lifting of these items that have been underwater for 800 years, and they're now being sent off. They're going to be conserved and they're going to be made for the general public to see.
And in a way, when these set sail from Poole Harbour some 700-800 years ago, they were destined for something great. They were destined to be a monument to someone's life. And I feel like we're finally going to give them the destiny they always deserve. They're going to be monumentalised in Poole Museum. And that feels like such a fitting tribute to that ship and that crew and all of the craftspeople and all of the hard work that went into those stones. Never mind all the archaeologists that have spent years working on this.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really nice point and a perfect way to see these things off.
Safely back in storage, the slabs are hosed down and then kept wet as the conservation process begins.
I've come down to the Mast Maritime facility where the grave slabs are currently being conserved, and I've not seen them since they were fresh out of the water last June, so I can't wait to see how Tom's getting on. Tom, here they are.
Here's the slabs.
This is looking amazing. So talk me through, what's going on here? Why are they still in water?
So with these, because they've been 750 in salt water, actually the stone's slightly porous, and this salt water can get into any fissures or between the beds. Salt crystals grow, they'll grow, and then they'll just smash apart the object. So we need to really slowly get that salt out and make sure all the salt's out before we dry it out, or we could risk losing surface details or even the whole stone splitting. So we just soak them in fresh water, change it every month or so, keep testing and testing and testing until we've got it the same pH and the same salinity level as our tap water. These are actually ready to be drained, to be dried, packed up, and then shipped off to the museum when it reopens.
So these are completely desalinated now. So since these have come out of the water, is there anything new we've learnt about them?
So we can actually see a lot more detail on here. So we can see the centre line coming up here.
It goes all the way.
All the way up to the top. And when you actually have these dried, and we've dried and scanned to record to make 3D models, you can actually see all of these marks come up. So the actual mason's marks on this one, which is really cool. And we can see how they've made these perfect circles.
But Tom, the mortars, I mean, this takes me back to that first trip. These look like they're ready for an exhibition.
Yeah, so this is all been conserved and ready. This is a small selection of what's on the seabed. But the interesting thing about this is the variety of different stone different shapes. So they're using every single bed in the Purbeck thing. It's really complex geology there. So
But these are monsters. These are enormous. What would they be for?
for making the mortar you use for bricks and mortars.
Oh, really?
So they could make that in them. I think the building of St. Albans, there's a manuscript that shows them bringing up all these mortars up to the top. So they're grinding up that plaster of Paris or the mortar, which is where the name comes from. We're also seeing things like spices, if you're doing industrial, anything like you want paints or pigments, that's going to be in here. Food, so if you've got like the big monastic kitchens, we'll probably have one of these huge ones for grinding up all the food.
Do we not find stone pestles as well?
No, so they don't tend to survive. What we think is they're actually made of wood. So we've seen like manuscripts and things, and they show these they're sitting there with these big wooden sticks pounding away into these devices. So probably a lot of it's pounding rather than grinding as we do today.
Okay. So how far afield do these turn up?
So we've got quite a lot coming in the Baltic, France as well. So sort of that Atlantic coast of France are showing up. But it wouldn't surprise me if we see them elsewhere and people just aren't recognising the stone or they're not surviving, because mostly they're at the end of their life, they get chucked up or they get reused as a bit of rubble or...
Good Lord, so it's a truly international trade. These look incredible. What's next for all of these mortars and the grave slabs?
So the idea is Poole Museum have been a big opening of a new exhibit. They've just had a huge multi-million-pound refurb. And there's going to be a display of all the different wrecks in the Poole area.
Here we are. Look at this space.
Look at this. Wow.
This is incredible.
So many things to look at. I've been drawn left, right, and centre, but these are our things.
I remember these. I remember sitting on that boat, trying not to be sick.
They're even more beautiful now, aren't they? They're all conserved and looked after.
Dave. Wow.
Do you remember when we saw that for the first time once it had come up and we were just on the dock over there?
It's staggering, and it's staggering to see it in what's presumably a converted church. I mean, this never made it to the churchyard it was trying to get to, and yet now it's on permanent display in a church.
What a fitting resting place for such a spectacular thing.
And it's not just the Mortar Wreck finds on display. The gallery is dominated by a 10-metre long Iron Age logboat. It also features skillfully carved figureheads, ceramics, tools, weapons, and even a euphonium that have all come up from the local sea floor.
Gary, you're the curator here at this amazing space. Congratulations, you must be over the moon.
It's amazing, yeah. To be able to display all of this incredible maritime history in one place is a real privilege.
Yeah, and you've got the Mortar Wreck artefacts here, which are just spectacular. And it must be such a privilege to have some of the most recently discovered maritime history from Poole Harbour here on display.
Absolutely. It's one of the easiest of our cases to actually display all of the objects. We knew exactly what we wanted on display, and of course we've got the grave slab, which has been raised off the seabed now as well in its own case. We really wanted to kind of bring an existing and current excavation from below the sea into this display. We've got lots of other wrecks that Bournemouth University have worked on. We've got the Studland Bay Wreck and the Swash Channel Wreck, and it was just really important to get one of the most important wrecks in British history on display here in our gallery.
And so in terms of this fantastic new space you've got, people might watch this on the Time Team film. How can they come and explore it themselves?
Well, we're free admission, so people just need to wander in and enjoy.
Excellent.
Tom, it feels like a good while ago we were out on the boat with you and you were pulling some of this stuff up. How does it feel to see it in a space like this?
Relief, it's finally open. It's been a few years now since the idea of having this museum, and Poole Museum have been great with it. But it's nice to start seeing everything. I mean, this is obviously a very small section of what we've got, but it's a good introduction, shows the wreck. Lots of pictures of me, embarrassingly, but...
And looking around the room, there's an awful lot of stuff I think you found, right?
Yeah, so projects I've been involved with. So the Swash Channel Wreck over in the far corner there, that's where I was when I was an undergrad. So I learned to dive on and learned to do all my archaeology skills, underwater archaeology skills on. We recently scanned those timbers as part of an undergrad dissertation. So it's the foundry timbers. The logboat we published 2013. We've got Studland Bay Wreck, which I'm the licensee of as well. So lots of things in here. Obviously the Swash rudder, we got that up in 2013, we got that up. So lots of stuff in here is stuff we've raised or we've worked on.
So this room is a testament to your career in a way.
Yeah, you can sort of trace my career through going around the room.
So back to this though. What's next for the wreck?
Ideal situation would be to be a total recovery and excavation, but we're still finding funding for that.
Come on, Derek.
Come on, mate.
It's time for the museum to open its doors to the VIPs, and that means we better scrub up.
Ready.
What's your favourite type of bubbles? One's coming out of this or one's from your mask?
One's coming out of the scuba sets.
Yeah, fair enough.
Officially declare this amazing museum open.
Well, a successful opening ceremony.
I know, and it's lovely to end the evening right where it began with these lovely artefacts.
This very pot was the first thing they brought up
Yeah.
from the seabed.
I know, and the lovely thing about this is anyone watching this can come down to Poole Museum and see the artefacts from the episode.
That's right, and normally with Time Team, you watch an episode, you go about your daily life, but actually you can come and see the thing that came out from the seabed from the oldest English wreck ever found.
Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses, and behind-the-scenes insights.